I'm a bit nervous. Uh, hi. I'm Siddhant Gupta or Mia Muraizum if you're on from now late anime. I'm here talking about the million anime I've seen this year. I've tried breaking it up into segments so that it makes it easier to consume. And the first part that I'm going to talk about is rewatches. This segment is likely going to cover like a fifth of my watch time, as a lot of the rewatch, like, okay, so basically I would have watched, like, say for example, season 1 of Ray Zero, and then I've just continued on to finishing it. So that happened a good bit with like a couple of shows, while a good number of them are also just standalones. Yeah, so here I'll be talking about what I rewatched, as well as what I went on to finish, what my thoughts are on the thing, what is the thing about. Yeah. So first up, I have Mangaka-san to Assistant-san, the animation. It is 12 episodes and 30 minutes each. It's like predominantly like a comedy ecchi with no real central story that, like, drives the plot along, or like not even like a real plot. It's more like a gag, like a gag series. So basically, the anime follows an ecchi mangaka coming up with ideas to draw his work by the time the deadline arrives. All of his assistants, obviously, are females, not women, females. And the anime is just the same. It's the same done. It's the same joke done poorly and like multiple times over. Yeah, it's the target of the harassment changes, but all he's doing is, like, because of partly because of his awkwardness and lack of social awareness, and partly because the joke is haha sexual harassment, right? um and like, yeah, so like, yeah, this is like an example of like a rewatch not being as fun or even like equal to the original experience. This one's just disappointing. Like, it went from like, I don't know, I think it was like a 6 on 10, like a fine. I don't know what that means like in retrospect, given I must have watched this when my taste was very different. um yeah, it's like a 3 on 10. It was really shit, but like, I enjoyed a couple of the gags. It is not unwatchable, and honestly, like, I reserve the ones and twos for something that is like drop worthy, or like, yeah, just too bad to continue worthy. Like, I mean, I'm sure you'll see a couple of them at least in the future or something, right? So I don't really have that strong of a feeling towards this. It's just like, yeah, it's an adult working place type of thing, but it's not very sharp, and it's like people just act like children anyway. So like, what is the point of the adult setting as well, right? Yeah, I think I just, yeah, good thing I got that done with. Second up is also another disappointment of a rewatch, slightly different reasons. This one is Senyu. Senyu is a series which has a total of 52 episodes, 26 in each season. There are two seasons, and each episode is 4 minutes. It's like a comedy gag, again another gag humor series, but with like a bit of action as well. So yeah, Senyu is a gag anime that parodies the chosen hero trope, as well as other shonen tropes through its run. We are introduced to the main duo, our decided hero Alba, and his designated partner Ross, as they kind of goofily try to defeat the Demon King. Right? So basically, how it parodies the chosen hero is that Alba and like 75 others are descendants of the previous hero. I don't know, the hero really got along well. Yeah, so that's how it's like. So every hero is like, they're all descendants, yeah, but they're also all heroes. And then it's got like a bunch of gags around that. Yeah, I also enjoy that there's like a good sense of like a manzai type energy here with the Tsukomi and Bokeh type thing. Um, like, Alba is like the more straightforward, down to earth, sweet kind of kid who's like, trying to keep things on track, and Ross is just being insane. Like, he's just being straight up insane. It's like fun, bit of jokes that are going on. It's a bit of humor, it's a bit of slapstick, and like some of the jokes really hit, but then, like, they also had good continuity. Yeah, I just liked it when Alba was sidelined, honestly. Season one just followed a lot more of leaning into the joke side of situations and like how we can make things funnier. And season 2 got a little bit crispier with how um like it tried to bring in the plot elements now rather than just being funny. And it was nice, but like both viewing experiences were kind of too different to like relate one with the other, and not in like a first season funny, second season serious way, but also in terms of like the pacing and how it moved after that point. Like I guess like the short run time, it's like what, 52 into 4, like 3 hours, 3.5 hours of runtime. Within that, they do condense a lot of story, right? Especially because it's like a 4 minute thing, out of which like 30-40 seconds is like a song. So you're basically getting 2-3 minutes of content. So it's like pretty fast paced, but yeah, I don't think the series had enough time to do the comedy very well and like go beyond the same like 7 jokes. Nor did it have the time to do the type of deep plot that they were going for, right? I felt that they tried injecting way too much lore in season 2 and also resolving it. Yeah, this was like a 5 on 10. Made as fuck. Not bad, not good. Like, did some things alright, but like, yeah, overall just kind of stays stuck. Next up is Zetman. Oh man, I was so looking forward to rewatching Zetman too. Zetman is a 13 episode series with 24 minutes each. It is a dark fantasy, an action, a superhero, superpower type show, right? Yeah, so if you like the old superhero series but thought they were always hailed as like, the good guys are heroes and whatnot, even though they may not have been, I present to you Zetman. Zetman is one of my first exposures to an anti-hero main character, aside from maybe like Light and Lelouch. Zetman pays emphasis on some very current and relevant themes like classism and how the 1% can rent the media, and around like how they want to be perceived and like push the narratives that they want, how the rich will always go unpunished, and yeah, and even be the winners. Like they get to decide what's going on, type shit. It also talks about how justice works and right how the stories are written, how it gets perceived, as well as it uses two characters to define the two sides of justice. Right, like both of them have a sense of justice, but they both come from slightly deeper areas, right? So the first character that we have is our main MC, Zed. Zed is his like whatever this superhero form. It's not a superhero form per se. There was a term for it, but like whatever, right? Others or Legion or something. I don't know. I don't care. Yeah. So it has like a terminology for it. His alter ego is basically Zed, and the other side of justice is Koga, whose alter ego is Alphas, right? While the series like does not adapt the manga entirely, it still is very horrible when and like extremely rushed with its premise. Like sorry, with its like execution of what seemed to be a very good premise, right? Like it gets it's like watered down by like the well established themes that lack the proper conclusion to them. It's got a lot of them, as I mentioned earlier, right? Like it does a lot of things which are seeming fun, which seem interesting, but the execution is just not up there. I think the pacing is okay-ish for the first 6 episodes when we're still establishing points, but once it goes into the seventh and eighth episode, right, you need to start resolving these different climax points and such. But unfortunately, what Zetman does is it adds newer elements while not completely resolving the older ones. Like I get it, like it's not a complete series, so that's bound to happen. But since there was only one season, it just felt a bit like I don't know. It just felt very irritating to go through and watch it. The experience was like stuffing the climax into 3 short episodes, and I was just like, okay, fine. Like the again, right? 3 episodes for a conclusion should be fun enough, as was the case with most late 2000s and early 2010s anime. But the issue is that the parts that are like the plotty parts and like the lore defining parts and the moments that should you know bring a ending or like a closure to a certain character's arc, those ended very fast, and then there was like extra lore bits that were put in which were just going extra slow, which just made it unnecessarily stuffed towards the end. I like a lot of things about this series, and I enjoyed the thematic setup as well as like the main cast of characters. They all had enough going for them, like intrinsically and internally, especially like what was driving them, what were the key interests, and like basic traits. So they're all well defined. It just upsets me, right, that like the experience I had when I first watched it was that I enjoyed it overall, and it could have been better, but it was like a good plot and everything. It just like slightly, what, like I must have watched it 8, 10 years ago. So now my viewpoint is like it's still got a lot of good things. It's got a lot going for it, but it's like from like a 7 on 10 maybe previously to now like a 6 on 10. I'm not going to rewatch this again to give it like a extra chance to maybe let it fulfill its potential that I just couldn't see. Yeah, was not the well, yeah, I was really hopeful, right? And next up is the case of Hannah and Alice. And this is a 98-minute movie, which is a mix of slice of life mystery and drama. Don't you love it when some movies have two main lines, where one of them is the main story, where like all the little happenings are going on, the plot unraveling, and like, just the different pieces that were set up coming into place with each other. And of course, the other is all about the characters getting to know each other naturally and their, you know, dynamic growing closer and funner. And honestly, if you do, then Hannah and Alice might just be the perfect movie for you. Alice is the first main character we are introduced to. She's a new transfer student, and there's like a little catch about her class that they're sort of a bit like a cult, kind of, and also like so Alice transfers in, right? And the class has this rumor about Judas, who was apparently murdered under like mysterious circumstances. Yuda being the person who held that seat previously, one of their classmates, of course. And since that seat is now vacant because of his mysterious death, ooh, oh god, yeah. Because of this, like people start talking about it, and like Alice learns of it, and she's like, okay, I need to kind of solve this because what the fuck is everybody here on about? Her investigation leads her to finding our second and other main character. This is Hana, her reclusive neighbor who is like, you know what, I'll help you out, right? The movie is full of these like sweet moments where Hannah and Alice are like finding like, friendship with each other, and they're finding a home away from home within like among each other, of course. And all this time they're also trying to solve this mystery of Yuda, and it's just funny. It's got these like very cute goofy moments. It's got these little misadventures that usually go awry, ori or I don't know. They go AWRY, and it's got this nice little sense of friendship, some hilarious delusions as well, a bit of cult work, even if you like, just a bit odd, but you know how tribal people tend to be when you put them in an us versus them. And this uncomfortable warmth that comes with like the whole story just being a coming of age of sorts. It's around the fine, like it's pretty fine. It's pretty fine to good between that range. When I first watched it, I thought it was very good. And the rewatch, while like the first time when I watched it, it was a lot more of the mystery doing the heavy lifting, but with like the major mystery part kind of being solved, and mostly I remember the plot like at like a very broad level. Yeah, it felt a bit lackluster. So all things considered, it's like a pretty decent to good 6.57 on 10. Yeah, for first time viewers, it should be fun, I guess. Next up is, yeah, I don't know how to call. Oh God, Orange. I love Orange so much. Orange is one of the few shows I've watched this year. It's not doing very well for my creds. Yeah, Orange is a 13 episode plus a movie series. So 13 episodes of like 24 minutes each, and the movie is like a 1 hour special essentially, which kind of takes place after the story but also before the story. It's a bit odd. Yeah. Yeah. So, it's a drama, romance, tragedy slash a slice of life, as well as like a proper tearjerker for me. Yeah, imagine. So, yeah, fuck, man. I watched this weekly, in 2016, whenever it was airing. So it was like, just a little bit special to me. Yeah. Oh God. Imagine you receive a letter one fine high school day from your future self that rocks your world so hard that it's got some predictions that exactly examine how certain events and like moments in that day would go. What outcomes await you and your actions, and how, with little bits of confidence or inspiration, or just that bit of urgency, you could change things for somebody. I would think that's a fucking prank, and I would just be like, who the hell is writing this shit? And even if, like, the events, as they unfurl, I would just be like, okay, this is a very elaborate hoax, and there's a camera somewhere. That's very similar to what our main character Naho thought and went about her day when she first bumped into the new transfer student, Kakeru. Little by little, the series reveals itself to the viewer, along with the mystery and the weight surrounding the darker than it seems surroundings. Um, Honestly, Orange is just like mainly it's a group of friends and a transfer like student who enters that group's friendship more than anything else. It's like how how friends and how friendship can save their friend from a slightly darker future that may await them. um yeah, it's got a lot of angst to it. It's something that honestly I have thought about every now and then, and yeah, honestly, I love the cast of characters, from the dependable and reliable second lead Suwa, who would do anything for those he loves, the considerate and slightly irritating female, the female lead right now, how she's cute, but she's also got like I don't know, she's a bit annoying, but like I like about her that she's constantly in pain in one way or the other, but she like keeps going. Talking about pain, there is the transfer student Kakeru, who has a very fun and chirpy personality. He seems more outgoing than he is actually. um he's the guy who would like put on a strong face and smile when like there's like a lot of pain behind it instead actually. And then there's the relative side cast with like Azusa, Hakita, and Takako, who are just usually like they're kind of like they're the funnies. The series has like a few major plot points, which of course they are predicted or talked about in the letters, which could result in saving their friend, right? Um, you know, it's got all these amazing moments that make you laugh, that make you cry, that make you, just go, oh, like, oh. Like, some of them make you smile, but, like, my run was, like, out of the 12 episodes, 13 episodes, I must have cried on, like, four of them. And it's just, I think the music just keeps you there as well, right? Like, the animation just feels, like, slightly nostalgic enough to me to, like, truly feel it. Like, yeah, I kind of grew up along with this. And also, the music is just very nostalgic. It's very, I don't know, it makes me feel like the past. I don't know how to describe that, and that's the best I'm going to give you. And honestly, Orange was like one of the anime that could just get a cry out of me just by thinking about it, right? Like, along with like Banana Fish. I'll never get over that one. And initially, like on the rewatch, I just thought that it was because like the sadness or the tears were because Kakeru's backstory was kind of sad. And now not being a weekly and something that I've watched like in one shot, I think things kind of changed, right? Orange is now a series that will live in my heart forever as like a testament to how important friendship is and how it can not only help people but also, be one of the bigger pushes and the drivers out of like, heal people or help them out of the holes they found themselves in, just because it gives you that extra option and that extra hand that you can grab onto, that you can latch onto, that you can talk to, that that somebody is out there to reach out to you, somebody really values you, and like it helps. I think it's a very beautiful story. It's amazing. Um, Similarly, Mirai or Orange Mirai is basically, it's like it. Firstly, it's a summary, and then it's like one episode's worth of content on top. So the summary portion is something which like basically keeps all the best like the plot important moments, but it like reduces a lot about what the group was all about, right? Like, how they were friendly, etc., like how their traits worked out. All of that was just a bit excluded, so it was like, okay, it's kind of there. Um, yeah, the last 20-25 minutes of it is fresh content that is from like, a bit more about how the group, like, or like rather, why the group wanted to send the letters to the past and actually writing those letters to the past. That's it's just kind of cute, I guess. Yeah. This series on like probably my first one. There's a big mosquito here, by the way. I'm very annoyed. I'm very annoyed at it. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck. What was I saying? Oh God. Yeah. Orange is like a good 8 on 10 for me. 8.5 on 10. I really like it. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's really very good. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know why I took so much time to say that. Next up is Dust Maiden of Amnesia. It is a 12 episode series with 23 minutes each. It's got a bit of romance, a bit of comedy, a bit of supernatural, and yeah, it's a high school show. Yeah, honestly, I love it when you mix like high school rom-com type energy with like dread-inducing occultic happenings higher than like imagined stakes. Yeah, I love that. That's what I got served with the Dust Maiden of Amnesia. Dust Maiden of Amnesia is about the paranormal investigation club that exists for Nia to solve Yuko's mystery. All of it started when Nia found himself in the old school building one day, confronted by the distant yet flirty Yuko. Yuko, of course, she's a ghost, the occult of the occultic. Uh, yeah, so Yuko basically, the ghost suffers from amnesia and doesn't know how or why she haunts the building, like the school building, the old school building. And the series can basically be divided into two tonal journeys. The first one is where we see a lot of the hee hee ha ha's, the slice of life elements, and the goodness of after school club life with, like, some amounts of jealousy, some amounts of simple, easy conflict, and a few proper, like, as I said, like slice of life type moments. The other is more serious with its undertones, like it's regarding the past of Yuko and the circumstances, and how ghostly they really are. Um, the former is more apparent in the first half, and the latter is more apparent in the second half. There's also like a very clear tonal shift that we see. So even though both of the tones are kind of like yin and yangy presence in the start, also there is a bit seriousness, and then in the seriousness also there's a bit of the slice of life rom com type stuff. They're there. There's no doubt that they're there in both of them, but there is like a heavy clear shift between when we're going from the hee hee ha ha, maybe I wanna fuck the ghost, to holy, how can I save the ghost, right? Like that's what you want to. I don't know. That's basically what it's like seeing Nia going through all of this. Of course, there's other characters that is, yeah, I think Kire or Mire or something. I don't know. I did not write her name down. She's basically a descendant of Yuko's sister. Basically, she plays an important role, and she wants Yuko to leave Nia alone. And there's also another member of the paranormal investigation club, Nia, Yuko, and the third member is Okonogi, who is very clearly having a crush on Nia, but he just kind of doesn't get it. Yeah, this reward was frankly pretty rewarding. It did not change my rating from anything to anything. Mostly, it added Requiem into my list of songs that like I would have as like an OST just to listen to, and it's la 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 la. It's so good. It's so fucking good. Um, yeah. So honestly, this show in memory was a lot like it was like a bit of a goofy show with like a little bit of plot which just kind of comes and goes. But the rewatch honestly gives a much better account for me for the second half of the show, which was more serious and more high stakes than I remember it to be. Yeah, I enjoyed this series. I think I like this types of show. Like I do like Sankareya, which is very similar to this series, and I can't think of others. But like yeah, I'm sure there's like a good few examples. Like Dark Gathering, I think comes close enough, right? Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah, it was pretty. It was like a net positive rewatch for me. Yeah, honestly, the pacing in like here and there was a bit annoying, especially in like episode 4 to 7. I think that's when it was really looking for its footing and identity. But yeah, pretty good. Next up is the first one on, and you're going to like probably crucify me if you're still watching this video because it's something that I called a fraud watch, and I'll get into why I called it a fraud watch. But basically, I'm talking about Wotakoi. I did not kill the mosquito just in case you saw my hand go for something and did not get it. Yeah. Wotakoi is a show about workplace romance of mainly two couples who are also otaku, all different types of otaku, just to pander to everybody. This is a show that has exploded in popularity over the last like whatever 3 4 it was 3 4 honestly but even when it released it was quite popular but like mainly in the last 3 4 years because it's one of the few massy anime that has an adult cast that are doing romance and not entirely behaving like well, honestly, they usually. Okay, fine, I'll get into it. While the concept isn't so novel in manga, right? Having an adult cast that is not in school of or like college of some sorts, it's a novelty for the few anime fans to watch this because at the time it was released, at least, of course, there was Fune wo Amu, but who's gonna watch Fune wo Amu when you have Yari Yari Meguri? I like the show a lot. I don't know why I'm doing this to it. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, you get four fun characters who are at different levels of comforts with who they are, who they identify as, and what they enjoy doing. Of course, they have these great moments of their dynamics coming out with each other, these little adventures that come out, which are frankly very fun. And while my rewatch started off as a fraud watch more than a nostalgia rewatch, I wanted to like ask myself if like I like this anime because of a lack of exposure in general to what or like a choice in terms of adult cast rom-coms, and you kind of do get a more mature pairing than school slash uni at like a glance. But honestly, if you've seen like better, I'll call them better because that's what they are, right? If you watch certain shows like 365 Days to the Wedding or I Have a Crush at Work, other office rom-coms, right? Um, Botakoi just sort of feels like it falls short. Maybe Botakoi had to walk so these two could run, I guess. But I don't know. When I'm comparing, like for example, I Have a Crush at Work and Botakoi, it's like Botakoi, it feels a bit more like a school rom-com with events happening here and there. Just adapted to the office setting. And like, yeah. I have another fraud watch with like not a fraud watch, but it's like another fraud anime. But okay, you know what? Wotakoi, good 7.5 on 10. It was still a very fun rewatch. It survived the fraud watch. It was not all scam, but there's better out there. I still love it. I think that song is absolutely banging. Uh, yeah. Next up, I've got the Blue Exorcist cinematic universe. I'm gonna call it that, I guess. Yeah. My hand just got a bit like jerked up over there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to record this over like a few times. Not just this one. I'll finish this one, but the others. So the next one is Blue Exorcist. Dark side in my heart is yeah. It's basically got like total series is like 50 plus episodes. Season 1 was a rewatch, and then everything else was practically fresh. And yeah, season 1 is 25 episodes, 23 minutes each. Overall it's like a 7 to 8 on 10 for me. Different seasons have different scores. Season 4 and 5 were not as up to the mark for me, but 1, 2 and 3 were really good. I really think so. They're all like between that 7 to 8 mark. Good to very good. I'm gonna drink water, give me a moment. You know, two developments have happened. Oops, wait. Yeah, fuck. Oops, yeah. Two developments have happened. I was holding the phone with my right hand, it's kind of hurting. And the other development is the mosquito is still alive. I did not get it at all, actually. So next up is Blue Exorcist. It's a multi-season battle shonen anime having anime and good versus evil and like again like occultic shit at its like most common pillars. The series follows a pair of twins with differing circumstances where one is considered like a genius and the other one is considered like a failure. And the series honestly picks off from that same thing while it keeps introducing the school setting, how they fit into the school setting, and that. The first like initial episode itself is fucking crazy. Okay, like it's got so much content in it. You've got like the main characters kind of getting established at the same point in time. You also have like the parent figure getting into like a fight, and like the failure says some things that he's definitely going to like regret, and then it just turns into like a more, what do you call it, uh the what do you call it, the two kids trying to get revenge on whoever killed their dad. And I'm not explaining this well at all, but like honestly I don't care, it's just a bit confusing because like, so basically this is how the series starts, right? You get introduced to dad, twin 1, twin 2. Twin 1 is Rin Okumura, who is like a bit crazy, and the other one is like like chill, calm, and like the he's like the second parent in the household type, right? Yeah, they both have very different lives. One of them is a menace, the other one is like the best. I don't know how to explain it. Oh god. Their parent dies in the first episode. A lot of shit is revealed about them. How like they're the kids of the devil, and that the devil lives within Rain. There's a lot of information that happens in like the first few episodes. Honestly, um, yeah, I'm gonna fucking skip it. So I'll just go over like the feelings I had throughout it. Season 1 was a lot more of the setup. It had a lot of original anime content, which honestly I do fuck with. I liked all of that anime original content there. This is like the original JJK, by the way. Like that's what I'm gonna refer to it as in the sense. Like that's what it's got the vibes of, at least, right? Like if you think of like if I think of similar series, I think of this JJK and Tokyo Ravens. But anyway, yeah, season 1 I liked. Um, like it's one that like I liked a lot. I like the ending. I like the anime original ending. And this time, I wanted to stop at the point where it diverges from the original plot, and I did that successfully because last time when I tried rewatching it, I just completed it and then I never ended up watching season 2. This rewatch was good. I watched season 1 and then I watched season 2. Season 2 and 3 are cool because I get to learn a lot more about characters that I do like a lot. I also actually like parts of season 4, but it feels a bit dragged on. It feels a bit too, giving empty. Yeah, yeah. Mm, it's got that, brothers liking each other kind of vibe, but they can't tell it to each other, but they also kind of hate each other, or at least like one of them hates the other, but they can't tell it or whatever, right? So honestly, I fuck with season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5, not up to me. Season 5 more so, but I do like the ideas that they all have. It was fun. It was pretty good. Honestly, while like I like how the anime explores the Okamura twins' situations and dynamics through more side character focused storylines, like 2 to 4, it works well. It really does work well. I like how they're able to give attention to the side characters who otherwise would just get relegated to being like also there. into like proper arcs more built around them, with also Okumura being there, right? So them all kind of existing independently while building the world a bit wider, like outward building rather than like inward. That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. uh yeah, it's like good. I like all of the storylines for the most part. Season of, I did not fuck with that time travel shit, right? It was okay. It gave me good insight and understanding on the lore, but it was just like, how do I make a flashback without making a flashback type shit? Yeah, they're all good. They all have their own purposes to fulfill. It was decent. I don't know. Like it's some of it is very good. Some of it I absolutely adore, and some of it is just like, okay, this is so normal. Yeah, I have been murdered by this fly, mosquito, or whatever. Man, it's been just harassing me for the last 20 odd minutes. Man. Yeah, next up is Phantom, Requiem for the Phantom. It's very good. I watched it in the dub. It has 26 episodes and 24 minutes each. Phantom primarily follows the assassinations done by Ayn and Zwei, a pair of assassins trained and handpicked by the Scythe Master. Together, they make up the mythical assassination duo named Phantom. They mainly operate in America within like a few mafias and gangs and stuff. So, Ain has been under tutelage of Scythe Master since forever. And when Zwei is found, right, he's basically just a Japanese guy who's in America. And when he's found by Ain, he's given an option of either dying or becoming an assassin himself. Yeah. Basically, the series has three acts. The first act is dealing with the identity of Zwei. Who is he? Where does he stand? Whom does he prove his loyalty to within the mafia, within the different organizations? And who does he love, right? Like, how is he going to pull things together? The second act is about Zwei trying to bring the change in Ain's heart, and to get her to leave behind the conditioning and the control that the Scythe Master has on her. And then it's basically about him being unable to do that. Yeah. And the final act is a bit more open, with like primarily two types of plots going on at the same point in time. One is side character's revenge attempt, and another is Zwei's failure to move on for the people he's cared about or like caring for. And like it's very fun. It's got three very good acts, I feel. One and two are more so my favorites, and because they're more Zwei focused, and like the other things are also happening there. um the B plot takes a lot more of the focus in the third act. Honestly, I don't really love it that much. It's a great like closure experience, because like it's very clearly visible that like no matter what happens, right, the fate of Phantom is that they can't escape safely. Phantom is one of the more fun gun stories from my earlier days. I've seen like a few anime that have guns in them, and I really liked the first half, or like rather, like in retrospect, right? I remember like I liked the first half, and then I kind of just didn't remember much of the second half. So this was a great rewatch for me, because a lot of it was just like, oh yeah, I guess this sort of happened, but like it was like, oh, that's pretty good the way it happened. The main three to four characters are well fleshed out, but the overall cast was underutilized, and there's an over reliance on this whole gangster politics shit for like more so cosmetic sake than, and it's a lot more like surface level than it could have been. Examples of good non-surface level gangster politics is something like a 91 Days or a Black Lagoon, where it's not just part of the costume, but it's also like the culture they're in. I think that was one of the things that I was a bit displeased by. And honestly, the series was still pretty good. It was just very fun, be it emotionally, existentially, or just pure action choreography wise. It's a very solid, very proper 26 episode series. And the dub is honestly banging. I like the dub a lot. Next up is one of my happier rewatches, and this is Ping Pong the Animation. Straight up 9 on 10. It has 11 episodes, and each of them are 23 minutes. I fucking love Masaki Yuasa. I like Science Saru. Uh, Thank you. Yeah, Ping Pong, the animation is just such a good pick. Uh, I think I wanted to rewatch this because the last time I watched it was something during, I think sometime during COVID. And wait, this is not Science Saru, my bad. But it is Masaki Wasa. It's not Science Saru though. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. Uh, Ping Pong the animation is fucking banging, right? It mainly follows two boys on their sporting passion and ambition to be top players in ping pong within the schooling circuits. And we have the diligent technique first Smile, and we also have the free spirited genius Peko. These two are like elite players within the circuit, but they're also best friends. And Peko has generally been the better of the two until like Smile starts picking up rewards that he has like sown, and you exponentially gets better the more he's able to accept himself for who he is, as well as take his coach's guidance as not just training guidance but also as person guidance. Peko, meanwhile, is undergoing this whole journey where he wants to become a better player, but he's not able to get over certain hurdles that he has. He has forgotten his basics and he wants to fight as a genius rather than relying on the basics. That's at least how it is towards the start. Both of these characters have their own individual arcs, which lines up perfectly, and it sits so well within like the ending. Little by little, we also see the many side characters who are with their own circumstances, and they have their own nice little levels of depth added into them before the match happens. And like some of them are recurring, some of them just are there initially, and honestly it has my goat's foot like fingerprints all over it. I cannot talk about Ping Pong the animation without talking about how well it uh, encapsulates certain feelings which just come through the anime, right? A lot of it is a bit wacky, a lot of it is a bit insane, but kind of sport kind of also is, right? You have your strategic players, you have your pure brilliant players, you have your players getting through difficulties, winning matches. Honestly, this is like one of my. I fucking hate the mosquito flying around, by the way. This is one of the series that I would recommend to anybody who wants to get into anime while watching a sports anime. This is the great pick. I think it's like 10 on 10, right? I don't know, the way it defines competition and the way it perceives everything at the same point in time is just good. It's just sheer goodness, right? It doesn't put into like the impact that like past reputations are all that you have to go about. It lets you have the perspective that you can make it even though you're new to the game or whatever, but not in an unrealistic way, right? It does not have the trope where you have a high schooler seeing a racket for the first time and he becomes number one the next day. It has a lot of grit, it has a lot of competition at its heart, and more important than anything, it tackles coming of age very well through the sports setting. Yeah. I wish I had written all of this down because this is like I forgot to write things down in ping pong. For everything else, I have like a bit of a script going on. Yeah. Next up for me is I'm going to be jumping into something very cute. But like before that, every time I watch this series, it's like my experience has just gotten better, or I start appreciating something new about this time it was the audio experience for me. While visually it is absolutely banging, and like I've always acknowledged that, I feel like the audio really elevated everything. Next up is My Roommate is a Cat. It has 12 episodes of 23 minutes each, and it is an 8.5 on 10. Honestly, I think I've just got a thing for like found family series in anime. My Roommate is a Cat is one such series with our main character Subaru, who is a, kind of like a stay at home person because he works as a novelist. So often he has late nights and just kind of goes out to get groceries and stuff, but otherwise does not really talk to people. Also, he is not very good at communication because of his past. Next up is Haru, and Haru is a rescued cat. I think both of them have a dog. Like also Haru has like a slight like sad past because she's a cat from the streets. Both of them have this adorable dynamic where they get to know each other through doing things and doing things the wrong way, of course. Even though they're doing it to help the other person. It leads to just some adorable miscommunications, because cats can talk to people. But like, there's this very cute scene where Haru sees this guy lying like passed out on the floor, and this guy is he's like passed out on the floor because he went to feed Haru, right? And he's like just gotten up from a lot of work, so he's kind of tired. He goes to pick up Haru's food and he gives it to her, and he falls asleep. And at the same point in time, this cat is like, dude, how the fuck did you pass out on me? Here, eat this food. Why aren't you eating this food? And because she identifies, people not moving and not being able to eat food with her past on the streets, it just leads to very, oh no, my little baby, that's so cute. That type of moments whenever you look at Haru. It's just such a cute show. I love it so much. Both characters have a lot of common points in their stories and are just averse to newer connections because of that. I also adore that the episodes and like or events, are shown from both perspectives. So you have Subaru having his side of things or like thought process as to how he's dealing with Haru, and or like his own separate adventure other side otherwise. And okay, Haru is just like such a cute voice actor. The voice. I have a very soft spot for this series. I have a very soft spot for this series. I think it's cute. I think it's adorable. It just ticks all my boxes. It's not super funny. It's not super sad. It does not do anything excessively, and I think that's how I get like, or rather, fuck. I don't know how much I cut through that, but like my phone kind of almost fell. But yeah, it's just a very good comfort show for me. Number 12, we have Okiku Furikabutte, or The Big Wind Up. And yeah, um, I have given both of the series 8.5 on 10. Season 1 is the longer one with 26 episodes, and season 2, I think, has 13. And they are 23 minutes each. I did a full rewatch, of course. From sport anime to sport anime, we have, well, cat and then sport, but yeah. We have the entertaining baseball team playing their hearts out at Nishiura High School. The battery consists of the underconfident, or like rather zero confident pitcher Mihashi, and Abe, who is a great talker and a proper strategist, and comes with some demons from his middle school years as well. Um, Along with this, we have a decent, dependable cast of at least two more good players, and then a number of players with like certain strengths and weaknesses, and like different flexibilities. Um, it altogether we get to a team that is a bit strong but keeps getting stronger with like little and little moments. Honestly, it's one of my like cute sports drama and like slice of life daily growth type anime. It is best visible by seeing how Nishura grows with some individual examples and how well it also retains its sporty tag to its fullest. So like some examples I can think of is of course Mihashi having his confidence, right? Mihashi I described earlier also as like a zero underconfident person. It's because of his past in the middle school and how it affects him and how basically he has no confidence because at his previous school, no matter how bad things were, he would just refuse to leave the mound with his pride as a pitcher. So he is good, but whatever, right? They have moments where they have to face like his previous school. They beat the previous school. That has great growth for him. The way he's able to face his ex teammates better and how he's able to be himself more. With the limited few other matches that we get to watch, we have similar moments also for Abe, where he gets to not just be the perfect catalyst to get the best out of Mihashi, but also has to be the winner in certain cases where he has to go above and beyond. Similarly, there are other characters who get their fine little moments. There is the cleanup batter. There is the guy who can hit like a very long ball who's kind of bald. There is one guy who's amazing at bunts and just tactically very good. They were like players who have their own individual moments for that specific position that they play in baseball. I honestly just loved the rewatch. It was very tactical and technical as compared to most baseball shows I know. Like, honestly, I know most of my baseball terminology, if any, from this show, probably. Or, like, it's, and also like some simple strategies to play the game, I guess. Honestly, while I enjoyed how they got into like the trainings and everything in good depth, I feel like there was like a lack of match time on screen that would have made it more fun. It would have made it more engaging for me to want to watch. I don't know. I guess like the lack of, dude, I'm just struggling. This fucking mosquito is so massive. Oh god, I'm absolutely dying here. But and then moving into from dying into the occultic again. I just like occultic shit a lot, right? This is Occultic 9, of which I watched the dub, and it has a 7.5, which is a good to very good between that somewhere kind of rating for me. It's got 12 episodes and 23 minutes each. And let me just address the elephant in the room first, right? That yes, it is a super fast paced occultic supernatural mystery anime from fucking 2016. And what it has most infamous about it is that even in the beautiful year of 2016, it infamously adapted 1.5 volumes of the fucking light novel into 1.5 episodes. And that's like the first thing you get introduced to, right? Like the immediate punch is a counter punch from the anime. Like it's just super fast paced from the get go. The blitz of an intro makes it quite tough to be that involved, honestly, when you're up first. And the pacing fixes itself from like episode, like around episode 3. But I think most of the damage in terms of reputation was done by then. I did not really get into the series initially because of that. However, during COVID, at some point in time, I did watch it and I absolutely fucked with it. Um, I was also high throughout most of it. So I decided that let me have a proper hardcore, like, a full, mm, I don't know, dedicated watch to this now because I've forgotten events for whatever reasons. Um, yeah, honestly, I like it. I like it very much. The story primarily follows hit occult focused website Kirihiri Basara's almost neat high school owner Yuta and his best friend Ryota's Sarai, the son of the famous researcher turned occultic expert, the famous revenge taking expert Ira, and the ghost that follows around Kiryu, the detective Moritsuka, who's almost solved it all at every given point in time. And then, other than these characters, there's also a lot of smaller characters with their own strings attached to the series that usually get like a speedy but certain and sometimes fulfilling closure. Occultic 9 is mainly a series that follows these 4 or 5 people running into each other under different circumstances and under different situations where they all kind of want to solve their own problem. But also, they have now that they formed this weird band or like group, right? They're trying to all come together and figure out the thing that's behind everything. This anime is really fun. I do not do a great job describing it. It is like a wild goose hunt chase, and it's just insane for like a lot of it. But I think episode 9 to 12, everything just comes together very well. If you can get through the first 2 to 3 episodes, I think you'll have a good time. I think the pacing does okay after that, like genuinely. Right? Like, oh god, I'm gonna. Dude, can somebody give me a racket? Did I get it? Did I get it? I did not get it. It was so. Oh my god. I feel like a good 10-7 minutes of this rewatches segment has just been about a mosquito harassing the living shit out of me. Um, yeah. I'm not sure if you can understand this or not, but I've been bitten so fucking much, man. It's been such a horrible experience. I wanted to. God damn it. My mood's only fucked up now. Yeah. And moving into the last 3 4 entries, I have got for you 86. 86 is a two-parter series that I watched P1 of and I loved it. But then by the time I got around watching P2, some parts of it did not make sense, and I was like, you know what, I will watch P1 and like I'll rewatch P1 and then I'll watch it again. There was like a good 3 4 years between me deciding to do that and actually rewatching it. 86 is about a lot of things. It's about racism, it's about ethno nationalist delusion, it's about overcoming the us versus them. Segregationist beliefs it is communicating such through war between the Alba Republic and the Empire. The series has mainly got two conflicts, with one of the conflicts being a literal conflict with to do with the Republic versus the Empire, right? And the way the Republic goes about this is honestly it follows the it follows the haunting death-filled misfortune of the 86th faction's spearhead squadron members and their warfare with the Empire's robotic legion, right? To give a bit more further insight and understanding on what this means is 86 is a faction of people, right? They're called the 86 because that's the name that they're given to and discriminated under. The spearhead faction, the spearhead squadron, is basically where they send the people of the 86 who survive the longest within fighting wars at different war fronts to essentially, be casualty of war, under the guise that if they can somehow survive this spearhead squadron for like a year, for a certain period, that they will be able to get their own freedom. Of course, no, that's not going to happen. That's not how the state works. Um, it's a lot to do with two things, right? So one is the literal warfare that goes on between the Legion and the Spearhead Squadron, and secondly, it follows the 86th faction and their inhumane treatment and dehumanization by the Alba, or like the Albans, who stay within the safer central locations away from the war fronts within the kingdom, and they make the 86 fight for them, of course. So in 86P1, Spearhead are under the control, like they get put under the control of the command. They get put under the command of Ladilena Melise, a person who is very much against the inhumane treatment of the 86, but a lot of her words initially to the team just seem as words and not commitments. Little by little, their relationship goes through a bunch of ups and downs as the squad. Of course, just one clarification, right? The squadron is on ground and Melise is communicating with the squad through central location, where very far away from the war, very far away from knowing what's even going on. And there's no camera also, from what I'm right, because that's how it helps them dehumanize them further, right? Yeah. So essentially, their relationship goes through ups and downs, and the squad suffers defeats and losses. And all this time, Melise is trying to grow their, gain their trust, overcome the generations of trauma that the people have been under, and the amount of racism that they have faced, right? Across this, there's also moments of joy and bliss and real understanding where they share a moment together, both Melise and the 86, and they're able to, just be there for each other as well in very clearly horrific times for the 86. There are moments of joy and bliss, of course, and even this occasional sense of like invincibility that comes on every now and then, which is only torn apart by like an absolutely crucial death. 86P2 is a broader explanation, a broader exploration of the world they find themselves in. I like P2 very much because it shifts the key themes from racial discrimination and its scars into a more hopeful solution moving forward for the humanity as a whole. We see the characters trade their very definite war front fates for experiencing, true like proper shelter and love in their life. I think both parts are amazing, and they have this very clear identity difference between the two, which makes it a very good experience, because while a lot of the themes and a lot of what carried from P1 to P2 remains there, it never really gets dragged out or repetitive, whereas we get to see newer fronts and newer sides of the same problem. I personally really like 86. I think it's a great series. I think it's among like the best series to come out in like the last 5 years. And it's like, if something has to become a modern classic, I think that should like this show should be like the definitive one. Approaching the 1 hour mark, I think I still have script worth like 20 minutes or so. But basically, next up is ReZero. Oh, please don't let me down right for you. I love the songs in this. I just wanted to put that out of the way, get go, right? Um, Ray Zero season one is what I rewatched. It has 25 episodes, and it was like a solid like 20. It's like 7.5 on 10 for me. There's like a couple of long episodes I think in there. I think like the first episode is like an hour long, but like everything else is like same 24, 23 minutes standard. So, one day while going to the store, the local high school shut-in, Natsuki Subaru, finds himself getting isekai to another world, where he meets an absurd end, right? But it sort of goes to a safe point. And honestly, this happens a lot in the series and a lot through the first few, like the first couple of like seasons as well. It's like watching a series play out through the different decision tree branches that you can go into. Whether it's like, oh, do you want to go out? Yes, no, no, and then whatever, right? Some other tragedy happens, and then you figure out how to solve the tragedy, and then you also try the other route. Honestly, it's just fun. It's just such a fun, easy way to go about it. In the first season, it's like broadly five arcs, and like the first three arcs are very introductory. Each of them serve to set up the scene and the important characters within it. The first is to get to know Emilia and future rivals, as well as getting like helping Subaru get his foot in the door. The second is to get to know and trust the maids, Beatrice, and the mansion's residents, like Roswell's mansion's residents, and also like to get a bit of a view into how Subaru sees things and himself. The third arc is where we see Subaru meeting his own night rival, like yeah, and continuously making an ass out of himself, while becoming too caught up in the many worlds he's been living in. He just becomes more complacent, like growing into it. I really like the third arc, while I think a lot more people like the second arc a lot more because it's got like the demon maids and Beatrice and everything. The third arc is a very fun setup because it's something that we get to see a lot over the series, where the show will build up Subaru for some certain characteristic and then break him down based on that character. Something something Subaru and something something break his characteristic. Yeah, my space got full and I had to uh, do something to, get the space open. And now I'm just proceeding to waste it because the fucking mosquito is back. I am having such a horrible time. Essentially, yeah, I like this arc, the third arc, a lot more. This is something we get to see as like a very recurring pattern, and it becomes like a overarching theme in like most of the arc across the board. With the introductory arcs out of the way, we not only get the idea of how the story may progress, right? With the royal candidates and everything, but we also get like a hint of like the big bad villain, like the villainous witch cult that will be a consistent joint antagonist moving forward for like the entire kingdom. And yeah, honestly, this is also where we meet the white whale and Betelgeuse. But yeah, both of them come to attention at similar points, and both of they're kind of like intertwined arcs in a way because of the way the plot progresses. But honestly, I like both of the arcs for the different, like for their own different reasons. The White Whale arc has some of the most uh like insane like endings possible that come across through it, and using these different like cues and everything, Subaru's now getting less complacent, and he's back onto his grind and he's trying to make things work out and increase or like improve his repo with Emilia one way or the other. This is like a great arc for Subaru to overcome a lot of his challenges and grow as a person. The second season is initially about the aftermath of beating the white whale and its curse of memory affecting two of the main characters. And Subaru does a few dry runs where he attempts to reverse the curse. And most of the season gives us a further background on the witch's cult through the sanctuary's lore and Roswell's plot. Subaru learns a lot about having self worth this season and not just throwing himself at the wolves at every given opportunity to get like a mini clue that may help him. He learns to value his life better and, gets a great ally in the form of Betty this season, Beatrice, right? Across the board, we see him grow better, and we also learn about Emilia and her trials, and how she vows to grow and face her past as well. The climax has the witch, like the witch's cult attacking the sanctuary, with Subaru and Emilia getting ever closer, beating the foe. This is like an 8 on 10 series. Like it's got a lot of better pacing and consistency than season one, and lesser exposition and more like plot resolutions as well. But yeah, it's like all of the little seeds that have been plotted are like about to come good, and season three is the most recent addition that I enjoyed the most. Right, it's like got like really like it's right up there. It's like this is what cements this series as one of my favorites. This season has the reoccurrence as well as like the plot important points for a few of my otherwise overlooked cast members, and I appreciate that very much. This is also like the most mature and likable version of Subaru that has ever been in the series so far. While he does have his moments where he looks beaten and trodden, he doesn't like came into cheap tactics where like okay, let me find out and then kill myself and then get back and figure out the second way. Um, we also get to see all of the royal candidates and their like teams getting in on the fights and everything, so it is much like how in the previous arcs with Subaru's importance of involvement being there and him being like the main guy getting things together, here it is everybody on their own trying to figure out all of the cool shit, like all of the fucked up shit happening across the city. So it's got like a good little energy as well as understanding of where all the different royal candidates are coming to, and they're able to take their own fair share of glory as well. We also get better characterization of the candidates beyond the caricatures we saw earlier because of this. We get to see a lot of gore also in like something that was very much present in the first season. It makes a very strong comeback in season 3, and like I really fucked with it. I think I've got a good idea of where the series is going. There are some parts of the series that I adore. One is the way they time and again build Subaru, only to have him die until he changes and evolves from it. Something that remains true regardless of the situation once he starts valuing his life more, and more than just an endless repeat list to get more clues out of. Another is how important each side character's very presence is, and much less like not just in relation to what they bring as like plot points within that specific storyline, because there are so many possible options and different answers and routes that people take end up like taking up. We get to learn a lot about the characters. I really appreciate that because even though Otto, for example, is a side character who gets a lot more attention in season 3, he's been around for good reason in the previous times, right? I think there's good characters all around. The way they develop the traits and the way they develop the small dynamic changes and shifts is very fun as well. I think all things considered, the Subaru, character development is one of my favorite parts, and I'm very glad that I put in like the effort to rewatch season one because I would not have followed season two at all, and like subsequently thought that okay, maybe this series was just good in the past and not in the present. Next up is Sidonia no Kishi. This is a series that I watched. Like it's about like 11 hours of content and it's really good and you should watch it for sure. I rewatched the first two seasons of this so that I could just enjoy the movie to its fullest. Um, I watched this years ago, and this is like one of my only enjoyable mecha anime, I guess. I guess they're mecha, right? Yeah. Yeah. So Sidonia no Kishi is basically mostly about humanity survival on the mega ship Sidonia that they call home. A lot is explained through its course on how humanity is in space. Uh, you know, Due to the mortal enemy, the Gauna, which is like its evolutionary mirror, and it keeps chasing the Earth beyond. It's a sci-fi doomed survival story that has its fate altered by Tanikaze and his rather insane literal surfacing from the underground world of wires within Sidonia to reaching the surface in search for like food. The series is like 90%. I got the mosquito by the way. Fucking hell, finally. There's so much blood. Yuck. I'm going to soon go wash my hands. Let me just. Hi, hello, hi. Uh, Mosquito more like dead keto. That does not make sense. I don't care. Yeah. Sidonia becomes heavily dependent on Tanikaze once his heroism comes through, and he becomes, like the main guy. So season one follows the surfacing of Tanikaze, where along with him, us as the audience get introduced to the very high stakes of the world of Sidonia, as well as humanity's survival and what everything lynches upon. It's got a lot more juvenile energy, such as jealousy, coming of age parts of the story, unsurety as to who the characters identify themselves as, who they are, and what they stand for, and all of this in obviously in the midst like of a scene where like the survival rate gets lower with like one with anyone's age going higher. That's the type of world we're in, right? It also senses like it also serves for a great rise to the status of Sidonia as hero for Tanikaze, because it's a great setup. It has like a proper down period for him where he's like down, and then his proper rise up to like the top. It's good. It's really good. Yeah, there's a bit of like a rough triangle, but it's more like a heavy third wheeling, and then there's like a few important characters that get introduced here. Um, Season 2 is absolute fucking cinema, right? Season 1 has a lot of things that get set up and laid out, but in season 2, we honestly see a lot of these moving parts coming together, a lot of the strings that were separately laid out getting attached now, and where different things were kept open ended, and it was a little less focused on the political backing, right? Or like how we got into the situation in season one. It was more about Tanikaze, and such. Season two takes that a little more on the forefront. It is lesser focus on the side characters, and it keeps most of its plot points very sharp and reserved for only relevant moments. The lack of wavering was welcome, honestly, because I was really getting into like the lore behind how Sidonia shaped itself up, and like who this mad scientist is, or like how these plots were even actually considered that insane, and how the overthrowing was so normalized, right? A lot of this is good in season two. Well, okay, wait. So basically the third part is the movie, and the movie takes the romantic part a notch up, right? So like season one had a lot more romance, but then suddenly season three has a lot more of it, and while season two also had a bit of it, it's like season one had like proper romance, season two had romantic subtext, and then season three again has like romance, right? That's how I'm gonna call it. By the way, there's a new mosquito. I'm just fucked. There were two mosquitoes all along. Oh god. Yeah, I'm getting bitten on my feet right now. Ugh. Honestly, season three movie is about where everything becomes confrontational, both in terms of Tanikaze and his love interests, as well as humanity and the Gauna. Of course, yeah. Just wanted to mention this. It's all a CGI anime. So while I enjoyed this, like I don't think a lot of people enjoy it. I don't know how you're not on to peak yet, but you do you. So just keep that caveat going in. I think the opening songs are bangers, by the way. Other than this, honestly, I do not remember this series having so much politics or like melodrama going on. But like I guess the politics was just so fun that like I took a real interest in season two more than I may have previously. And honestly, a lot of things, the small actions done in season one became clearer in season two or such, right? Like, okay, so the first whatever 15 out of 24 episodes, you were able to see how like the different actions have led us to where we are within the series. So I think that's like a very fun aspect of this show. Moving on, I will go into Kekai Sensei in a very similar setup here where I watched season 1 long ago, waited for season 2. By the time season 2 came along, I just rewatched season 1 and never went on to season 2. I don't know why. So now I have rewatched season 1, and with the intention of completing serial season 2. One thing that I learned throughout this was that my beloved season 1 is actually like anime original content, and season 2, which is the episodic bits, is like actually the original manga format where it's like just episodic shit. uh Basically, Kegai Sensen is set in Hell Salem's lot, a version of New York City. Primarily, you see it through the lens of the adventures of Libra, a secret organization. Hell Salem lot is special in a lot of ways. One of the ways being that um, it's literally got all types of characters there, from humans to monsters to mythological beings to pure evil residing side by side, um, often not eating each other. It's heavy on the superpower and occultic side of things, with our main character being Leonardo Watch, a human with the all-seeing eyes of the gods, who mostly finds himself like very consistently in the worst situations possible. There's a great mix of action fantasy and good feeling slice of life involved here. Honestly, season one rewatch was peak. It had lots of side plots plus a very good central story that kept the main plot driven along. The key solves being about how the two worlds came together, right? You know how New York City and this mirror world came to be, and what may happen in the future, how somebody may exploit others or whatever. I love all the different characters that I'm introduced to here. It has a lot of the story got like vibes like Durarara to some extent, right? With how the different characters have their own daily lives, their own driving, their own fates and everything, and eventually somehow, very surprisingly, everything comes together. I think season one is all about the little time pass fun that balls into these larger tangles of like multiple stories and climaxes. I also think both seasons have great voice acting. I watched the dub, obviously. And as well as this, it also has a very good audio visual storm. Music is delicious. The music is delicious. Like, wow. And I can't think of any names up front, but then, I'll just put them in the description or so. I also really liked the art style. It's very simple, it's very catchy, and it's got like good amount of emphasis when it really needs to be there. Like, for example, everything looks normal in a scene and it looks like especially goofy and dumbed down, and then you look at his eyes and they look like absolutely cracked up. I like season one a lot because it had like a great. I like season one from like the story standpoint, right? The black and white story standpoint, along with Leonardo, the little bit of romantic subtext ongoing there. It was very enjoyable. Season two was more of an ode to the entire cast, and of course, it follows the manga more properly, right? It's got a lot of individual single time episodes that sort of link with the past and present while being more episodic adventures rather than flashbacks. Somewhat similar to what Bungo Stray Dogs does in, I think, season 2 or season 3, right? Where they just show the entire past thing that way. I like that view. Sorry. I like this season very differently from season 1. Season 1 is more of my style, obviously, as I just mentioned, but I do like the tight story and the romance and the theme coming together. But at the same point in time, like, it made me painfully sad. It was cute, right? But also, I like season 2 because it's so episodic and very, like, some plot points are consistent and some points are very distanced apart, and it's nice that way. It's got these little stories that come together strongly. And of course, to finish it all off, I will be going with my best rewatch of the year. And honestly, this is a rewatch I've been looking forward to for years. I'll get into that, of course. This is Assassination Classroom, which has 22 episodes in the first season and 25 in the second. It is 24 minutes an episode approximately. And Assassination Classroom is stuck in this weird setting where our class, that like in attention is class 3E, a classroom reserved for the worst of the worst students at the school, like the absolute bottom of the barrel students that do not fit alongside the elites of the school. Class 3 is like a bottom feeder class, right? Often 3E is 3E, class 3E. 3E is even treated inhumanly by the students and teachers alike. Like, within this classroom of doom, we have that's like, where the primary setting is. It's a slice of life with all our characters becoming better versions of themselves to finally show the people who look down on them and what they're capable of. It's a school series where we learn a lot about the large cast and how their dynamics are with each other, what their strengths are. But I think most importantly, it's also a heart crushing drama series where the catalyst for all the good and evil in this universe is this alien looking, octopus looking yellow creature named Koro Sensei that like wiped out like about 70% of the moon overnight. Uh, if you're thinking I'm just making shit up as I go, you're kind of wrong. This is most essential. Like, this is practically the plot for the extremely popular old hit anime Assassination Classroom. The goal for 3E across this year is to try and assassinate this octopus, while of course ensuring that their school lives go on as they have been, and with the other caveat that entire military organizations have failed to capture or kill this creature previously. So they must come up with ideas that are fun, maybe experimental, and break out of their molds, defeat the expectations that have been set upon them. This series can be divided into a few arcs. First one is the teacher intro arc, where we basically have like a few settings very cleared out to us, that like what does the class look like, the teachers, who are the teachers, Irina and Karasna, what are our characters, our cast, or 26 or 28, I forgot the number. What are they like as people individually? What are their strengths? What are they like doing? And how they try to get up at Koro Sensei, how they try to assassinate him. Then we have the Takaoka arc, which is basically about how another guy from the military, like Karasuma, Takaoka, gets assigned to the class. And Karasuma basically learns about Takaoka as well as the students learning about him and his truth, and they oust him eventually. But the damage and the trauma has been done one way or the other. Following this is a very fun school exams arc where 3E beats, or rather like they compete with 3A at the top of the game. And the final arc of season 1 is the Assassination Island, where basically the students and Koro Sensei get to go on like this island, where the students get to use a lot of the things that they've put together about Koro and do a very strategic, class versus one attack in this island. They do so well that they enforce Kuro to return into his max defense form, which is basically no nothing can touch him for 24 hours, but he also can't do shit for 24 hours. In the midst of this entire thing happening, right? Basically half the students or more get poisoned by a mysterious enemy, and that's basically the final arc, right? An old foe comes in the way to challenge the students, where they have already tried and defeated Koro Sensei and have kind of failed, and now they must defeat this other foe. This is like the first time when the stakes are non-controlled and like a very, like a very high stakes environment. Season 1 was a lot about setting up the different characters, establishing the strengths and traits of each, and I mean each and every student and cast member, through whether be it like small incidents or if, like introductions and this and that. We were also introduced to a couple of characters in the first season, which is like Ritsu and Itona. Itona has his own evil arc, and Ritsu also has like a little arc. Most of it is very fun and enjoyable so far. Season 2 kicks off with, the Itona that I just mentioned, his reintroduction and redemption, along with how his and Koro's relationship was, and how he hates him or whatever. And then we have the arc where Irina turns heel on, what we think is to be the very normal series, as it adds spice to it all. Then begins the festival arc, which is like among my favorite assassination classroom arcs. For it's just so good, right? One that it highlights all the very real high schooler problems that my people are facing with their own like feature, like with their futures on the line, as well as being another showdown between 3E and 3A to try and pick up the the reputation and all. So picking up from the first arc's introduction, we get more depth into Koro's existence and circumstances. This is a great bridge for when we move into more emotional finals assassination arc, where basically the class finds itself in a situation where Karma and Nagisa are wanting to do different things, and the class is forming up an equal alliance behind both of them, right? And they have slightly different ideologies when it comes to whether they kill Koro or they try to find a cure for Koro, and they both have their very valid reasons as to why. So they get into this, as things are at the assassination school, they get into a team blue versus team red match, where again like all the students have their strengths, of course, which are again on display, but also their slight differences in how they look at things. This also helps our characters reinforce what they want to do in the future, by the way. It's a very fun arc, as most of the arcs are. The decisions and everything that comes out of this eventually also leads to the return of Yanagisawa. Yanagisawa is basically the guy who was previously controlling Itona in season one, which was not a very relevant point according to me, but okay. But then he becomes like the big bad villain, and his story ties up with Koro Sensei's story. And honestly, the true final arc is the graduation arc, where this is not just a graduation from high school for the students, but also for Koro, as the final plot point is enacted, and the group carries out their very truly heartbreaking assassination of the teacher who gave them, like, sort of, in many ways, right? He gave them a new lease on life and on themselves, most importantly. I've cried so much throughout the series and its run, right? The second season was just so much more emotionally charged throughout its like period. Everything was so tense, and you just knew, right? I knew how the series goes. Okay, uh, okay, like this is my best rewatch of the year, and unless Paranoia Agent that I'm trying to watch or Shigo Fumi absolutely blow it off, I don't think so. But like if they absolutely blow it out of the water, I don't know. Yeah, so Assassination Classroom has been on my watch list since, like, rewatch list since forever. Anytime that I wanted to watch, like, rewatch it, it was just that, okay. Firstly, it was airing like a decade back, okay, and like nearly a decade back. Now I never got back into it because I knew too much of what was to happen in the series, and that's just how memorable, like, that's how much of an attestament it is at like how memorable the series is. From the songs to the animation to all the major events, I knew that, like, what happens where, and I knew that going into this rewatch as well. But the rewatch still absolutely wowed me. The emotion is quite frankly woven into my fabric, like my very being. And Assassination Classroom has it all. Like, especially when I look back at it nostalgically, and whenever I watch it next with whoever I'm watching it with at the point in time, this series is just a little bit too special for me. That just about wraps up my rewatch segment, and hopefully I will mostly do Avant-Garde next. Avant-Garde.